as I begin to study and begin to research it, one of the things that that started the whole thought process of this was, in the Bible, the people that we see that God uses the most are, such a mess. Their life is a mess. You can go through the Bible and you can see all of the people that He has called. You can pick any of the stories and you'll see that He has called them. He gave them a specific task. And when He did that, they begin to say, well, I can't do that. Who am I? And I can name some of those. We can name Moses. Moses said, I can't talk. Who am I? I can't even speak well. I stutter. Let my brother do it. He can speak better than I can. He's more equipped to do what you're needing done. And then there's Jeremiah. And he said, I'm too young. I can't speak. Same thing. And then there's Gideon. He hid. He said, I'm the least of these. My family's not important. I'm not important. I don't have a degree. And still God chose these people. One of the things that I have had to deal with personally, and that's why I know exactly what to say to you, because I know that I have struggled with this when God called us to do a work in Monroe. Of all the places, this is my hometown where everybody knew me and saw me grow up here. And they knew who I was, or who they thought I was, who they perceived I was. That one of the things that I had to overcome that plagued me, like this big blanket constantly being thrown over the fire that God would quicken inside of me of ministry, was the feeling of inadequacy. So that word is the word I want you to really pay attention to, because that is the word that I'm going to be focusing on. So the more I begin to think about it, the more I begin to say, everyone has greatness inside of them. All of us, you've heard it spoken, you've read the scriptures. We have purpose inside of us. We have something that God specifically has called us to do. But what happens is, when we let the clash happen of who we are, Linda, Alicia, I could go down, Brandy, Michelle, who you are behind closed doors, who you are that your mama knows, your auntie knows, who you are identified as, because maybe there was something you did or didn't do or didn't accomplish in your life. When you begin to let that become your labeling identity, then you begin to let that feeling of inadequacy take over. And I know every single person in here that has struggled with being in the ministry, being called to do a specific task, whether it be choir leader, whether it be a speaker, to speak at a women's conference or a Tuesday night, whether it's over SOS. What happens is, if the enemy can do something to you and use this word, inadequate, he will literally bind you up like a straitjacket spiritually. You will be completely shut down because it hinders you in such a way that it's like being tied up and having your mouth muzzled. You question what you're going to say. You question what you can be used to do. So I struggled with that. One of the things that has stood out to me that if I could put a label on this, I would have to call what I'm going to be speaking to you about is a perfect mess. Because see, the feeling of inadequacy and the reality of what God has called you to do and what you are wanting to be used to do, no matter what the ministry, even if it's a greeting, what happens is, when the spirit of inadequacy, that feeling, that thought process that happens, occurs, it happens when we are children. It happens when we're Abby's age. It happens when, you're even younger, at Steele's age. When you first begin to understand the English language and you hear things spoken over your life, you have events happen in your life that break you or scar you emotionally. That is where, right there, a break comes inside of you. And it scars you in such a way that it's there. It's like, you know what I'm talking about. Some of you who cook, some of you who don't, you still know what a stove is. A back burner is something that's always right there. Right there. And so that feeling or that gnawing thought process of being inadequate is always right here. So it doesn't matter what degree you get. It doesn't matter what title you hold. As long as that feeling is back here on the back burner, it controls and limits you. It will even prevent you from living your life in the bright neon colors that God designed you to live. It'll limit you. Because if I can convince you, see, I'm not strategic like that, but the enemy is.
Right.
If I can convince you at that age that what happened to you was your fault, you know, what they said about you being stupid, and some of you who were raised in certain homes being called a F up, you know, cursed every other sentence, made to feel stupid, called stupid, insulted. You know, some of us that were raised in a legalistic background of religion, which I call it the no-no club, but I was actually raised in a doctrine that, you know, you were displeasing to God if you wore makeup. You were displeasing to God if you wore jewelry, if you wore your sleeves, you know, above your elbow, your dresses if they come above your kneecap, and you know, your shirts have to come up to your collarbone, and don't cut your hair, and don't dye your hair, and don't wear open-toe shoes. And so there was a long list of things that you had to do to please God, because if you didn't please the men that were representing God, you displeased God. So I had this ideology that I was inadequate from this age up, because I felt like I couldn't do it. Number one, I wanted to sneak around and wear pants. I wanted to borrow my friends, my Simply a God friends, cool clothes, you know. I wanted to be normal, to fit in. Can anybody relate?
Amen.
But it was always that gnawing thing in the back burner of my brain, making me feel like I was just not good enough to please God, not good enough to please my father who left, not good enough to please my teachers, because, you know, I couldn't get math, I couldn't get the long division problem, I didn't want to ask. And so it's this buildup, like blocks upon blocks upon blocks, that formulates who you are and your identity and your confidence level of what you can be, what your worth says you are, what you can accomplish, what you can achieve. So I want to talk to you about that, because the first thing I want to tell you is, okay, what is the definition of inadequate? Inadequate is lacking the quality, insufficient for a purpose. Let me say that again. Inadequate, the definition is lacking the quality of being a choir director. Lacking the quality, Jackie, of dancing in church. Being insufficient in your IQ level for college. I could go on and on. Because every single one of you have a thought that is right there that says, you're just not good enough. You just don't have what it takes to be a good mother. See, that's the one I struggle with. My daughter's here. That's the one I struggle with, because I felt like I didn't really even know how. And oh my gosh, to say that out loud, to be that honest with people, when you don't want anybody to know that, so you got to fake it, you know?
Right.
But at the same time, it's always right there. You're just not good enough. You're going to mess your kids up. You're going to break them. You're going to warp them. And it's always right here. And then when I became a pastor's wife and we started Power Church International, and Bishop and I began to talk real and open and honest about the things that we dealt with in our own marriage. When I began to be real about being molested, about dealing with rejection. It was a very scary thing for me because, back here, inadequate. If I tell you why I feel inadequate, then you're going to know that this front, what y'all see, is just a facade. It's not real because I'm inadequate. I don't really have what it takes. So when you let that control you, then it doesn't just limit you, it cripples you, it steals from you. I say this all the time. Seth has a tattoo, part of it's carpe diem, means seize the day. But it's a philosophy. Live your life with no regrets for tomorrow. If you drop dead right now, Brittany, the songs inside of you, the plays inside of you, they would die. It wasn't that they were not real to begin with, because see, God placed them there. The songs, Michelle, that you have yet to take out of a chest because you put them away. Because you just kind of start questioning, well, I'm just not good enough. I'm not Kurt Carr. I'm not Israel Houghton. I don't really have what it takes. So you bury it. You hearing me? So proud of Jackie because she just wrote a book. That book was there all along. That book is going to help people. But she just went ahead and had the courage to write it. It's not easy to face the thing that you keep gnawing on you that you're not good at it. It's not easy to do that. But the fact is, every single person in here is dealing with exactly that big neon word of being inadequate. Not a good wife, not a good mother, not good at whatever your job occupation is, so you don't deserve the promotion. You can't start your own business. You're not educated enough. You don't have the degree. You can't go to college because you're not smart enough. All of these things will limit you and keep you from pursuing the greatness that's already inside of you. It's there. It's there right now. If I would have believed every bit of that stuff, I would have just sit in a corner and gave up. I sure the heck wouldn't be standing in front of y'all talking about feeling inadequate. Because you don't talk about that. You keep that hidden, right? Because that's your vulnerable spot. So I'm going to go over some things, and if you're going to take notes, if not, try to remember it. The opposite is so true, that God created you all for a purpose. You've heard us say this, there's greatness inside of you. It really is. It really is, Asia. It really is, Deanna. It really is, Kira. There's greatness inside of you. And if you stop believing that, you'll stop living with greatness. It's not going to ever happen. Then you'll be my age, 50, and you'll be looking back and going, I'm 50. Why didn't I go get that degree? I only had one semester left. I could be a nurse today. Why didn't I work a little harder on my marriage? Why did I quit? Why did I give up? Why didn't I write that book? Why didn't I write that song? Why didn't I go ask for that promotion? I deserved it. Why didn't I go ask for that raise? Why didn't I speak up for myself when I was molested and raped? You will carry that to your grave when only you have the power to release it. I can't write the song that God gave Michelle. It will die with her. Her own daughter can't write it. It's inside of you. It's not inside of her. It's not inside of me. I can't start that business. You can only be the one that starts that business. It's inside of you. So here we go. So how does inadequacy, the very thought of inadequacy, how does it even take place? What happens to you? Well, when you're a child, we all know kids You know, their world, their life experiences are so small, they're so limited because they're so young in their age, that they tend to believe what is told to them. So if you're told that you're nothing but a disappointment, if you're told that you're a failure, now see, for me, it was not being verbally told. It was something that the enemy took advantage of a situation because my father was broken, my family was broken, and so I began to think, I am broken. Something is wrong with me for my father not to want to be here with us. And I begin to think from that point. I begin to think from that broken spot. So right there, it impressed upon me that something's wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not talented enough. It began, and it began to build. So then when you're in your teens and you want to go do something, or you want to go to college, and then you have that gnawing thing on the back burner that says you're not smart enough, don't even try. You're just going to fail because you're nothing but a mistake. You're nothing but a F up. Why even bother? So how many opportunities have missed you because you missed them? How many opportunities? How many times have you thought about starting your own business, but you never even tried? Because in your mind, you already seen failure. In your mind, you've already perceived that you would not succeed. Where did that even come from? Where did it come from? If you had 10 people line up and tell you with their finger this far from your face and look at you and say, you're a failure, you're not going to succeed, you're stupid, you're a loser, look at your past, look at your mistakes. Do they have any power over you? They have zero power over you unless you believe every single thing they say.
That's right.
Then you give them, voluntarily, you give them the power.
Right.
See, when you're raped, or when something happens to you as a child, it's taken. But as you begin to grow and you feel like that's all you are, you begin to give it willingly. So, as a child, here's some scriptures I want to give you. Psalms 138:8, long before you were conceived by your parents, this is the NIV version, you were conceived in the mind of God. Every single one of you. It is not fate. It's not by chance. It's not by luck. It's not coincidence that you are breathing in Jade Garden this very moment, in this very room. You are alive because God wanted to create you. If your mom and dad did not mean to create you, you are alive because God wanted to create you. The Bible says the Lord will fulfill His purpose for me. Say that right now. The Lord says He's going to fulfill His purpose for me. Psalms 139:16. Because God made you for a reason, not by accident, not to just sit on a chair and do nothing the rest of your life, but have grand dreams and do none of them. Because God made you for a reason, He also decided when you would be born, how long you would live. He planned the days of your life in advance, choosing the exact time of your birth and your death. The Bible says, you saw me before I was born and scheduled each day of my life before I began to breathe. Every day was recorded in your book. That's the Living Bible version. So, if this comes from things that occur or happen to you or spoken to you or events that happen to you when you're a child, what do? Well, you have emotional memories that are triggered as you begin to grow. Something will happen, and y'all know what I mean by pushing your button? There's certain buttons that mine's not yours and yours ain't mine. But there's certain buttons that people can push on you that you will go slap nuts off.
Right.
You will either shut down, hear me, you'll either shut down emotionally because something was triggered inside of you that you don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve to be blessed. So when bad things happen, you actually feel more comfortable with something crappy happening in your life. With you being fired, with you being laid off, with your house getting flooded and losing everything, you feel more comfortable because you feel like that's all you deserve. Instead of looking at this and saying, this does not define me, you feel like that defines you. You feel like that defines your worth or your level of happiness that you're supposed to have. Some of you live in a cage, a prison, that you have allowed someone to build around you when you have every tool inside of you to open the door and get the heck out. And you don't do it. You stay there willingly. The door's not even locked.
Wow.
It's just shut. All you got to do is bust through it and leave. Like just one finger. Open it, get out. But because it's up here, and because you have accepted it as truth for you, you don't even try. You stop. So when something happens and now you're married, now you have children, and you're still looking for the man to walk away. You're still looking for something bad to happen. So you don't even try to go buy a house because you don't deserve it. You feel like all you can do is dream about these things. Dreams are there for a reason. They will not breathe, live, and walk and talk until you decide to take the first step to put breath in them. God breathed into you. You have breath to breathe into a dream because God gave you the dream, and yet you sit there and you let it go stillbirth. You do nothing but give up and say, I'm not going to try because I'll be disappointed. Nobody else has said that to you. You have said it to yourself. You may hear the voice of your father. You may hear the voice of your molester. You may hear the voice of, the person who abused you. But you listen to them and you let them prophesy over your life instead of saying, you don't have the right. I'm stronger than that, and it's in me for a reason. You have everything it takes to succeed. Feeling guilty about your past failures is one of the things that you can give all your power to, because all of us have done stupid things in our teenage years, especially. And we have some teens here. There are some stupid things that don't you wish to God you can climb in a time machine and roll back the time and never, ever have to go there. But because you went there, because your family and your people close to you know you went there and want to remind you you went there, it becomes the thing that defines your future. Because you feel like, I did that and it was such a horrible thing, I don't deserve to be happy. I had an abortion, I don't deserve a healthy baby. See, it's all right here. Nobody told you that. You have convinced yourself that the lie is the truth. When you are 2, 3, 4 years old, you think if your tooth falls out, the fairy godmother is coming and Tooth Fairy is going to give you a quarter for your tooth, or I guess with inflation it's maybe $1 for your tooth. Ours was a quarter. Seth had the grand idea he wanted to pull all his teeth because he was going to get rich. But don't we all go through that? We believe it because it's so simple to believe. So now do you not understand as a child, if something happens to you, that you begin to believe that, and that thought process becomes something that you base your life out of? Are you kidding me? It's not even real. It's a lie that was told to you. The moment you say, I refuse to believe it anymore, is the moment it stops. How do you stop it? I'm almost through. this is the part I want you to catch. How do you stop it? Well, one of the things that happens is a cycle, a crazy cycle. Because I've seen this over and over and over in our counseling sessions and with us watching people in Power Church come and go or grow. I've watched them make decisions from a broken place over and over and over and over again. And negative beliefs, hear me, negative beliefs are self-reinforcing because it promotes behavior consistent with those beliefs. What does that mean, First Lady? Talk English. Well, what that means is if I'm believing that I'm not going to ever find a good man, guess what I'm going to be looking for? I'm going to be looking for that bad man because there ain't no good men left. If I believe every man cheats, I'm going to go find me a cheater because that's all they are anyway. Do you understand? You're thinking for something. You know, when I first took a course, and I actually did this, I can't believe it saying it out loud. I took a course to learn how to drive a motorcycle. Jesus help me. And I never got past the training, okay? It just happened to be sleeting on the day I was taking the course in Louisiana. Seriously, what the heck? This is a joke. But we still got out there and rode our little bikes around in the circle in the sleet and the ice. And so he told us one thing that has stuck in my mind. He said, if you see a pothole, do not look at it. You know why? Girl, you're gonna go right in it. That's right. Because what you're looking at is exactly where you're going. Uh-oh, what did I just say? What did I just say? Do you hear me? What you're looking at, what you're looking for, is exactly what you're going to go to. So if you decide that you want a good man, you're going to actually start looking for the qualities in a good man. You're not going to settle for a bad one. You're going to say, I'm waiting. I'm not going to look at the pothole. I'm looking at the horizon.
Amen. Amen.
Amen? Okay, so how do we overcome the feeling of inadequacies? Inadequacy. And here we go. Ready? It's only 5 points and we're done. So y'all better hold on. Number 1, identify it. What I just told you, just gave you the tools to identify it. I bet each one of y'all, God just, while I've been talking to you, and showed you some things that have been holding you down and holding you back and keeping you from living your life carpe diem. So identify it. Negative subconscious belief that you're not good enough, it qualifies your own worth. It qualifies your own ceiling. It qualifies what you're going to settle for. It becomes the reality and the truth of what you are and who you are because you believe it to be true. Number 2, what triggered your feeling of inadequacy? I just gave you a lot of trigger points. Maybe one of those was yours. Maybe 2 or 3 of them were yours. Maybe I didn't name yours. But something will trigger that feeling and you'll feel it. And when it is, it's kind of like feeling like something just takes hold of your brain and your body because you're about to go off or you're about to go hide. It's one or the other. Amen? Amen. So you know, because you can feel it. See, when you become aware of it, you begin to identify what triggered it, then you can ask yourself, you can say, what caused it to reactivate? Okay? It's on the back burner, remember? What caused it to come here instead of being back there? And how could I get rid of it to begin with? Well, if it's something that happened and it's a thought structure, a thought process, and something that happens or somebody says something and it triggers it, then you have the power to override it. Do y'all know what override is? Y'all deal with computers? Even us old people know what override is, right? Override it. So we know how to override it. You have to reprocess what you're thinking and how you're thinking and what you're perceiving. So if you know what triggered the subconscious emotional memory, you can stop it at the door. You can put your foot on it and say, that's a lie, it's not real. It's not going to control me. It's not going to limit me. It's not going to bind me. It's not going to keep me from going and asking for that promotion. I'm going to fake it. I'm going to channel First Lady. I'm going to walk in there with my shoulders up and my head up, and I'm going to walk up and say, I have done this, this, and this. I want my promotion. I want my raise. I want my house. I'm going to knock until the door opens, but I will find an open door. If I have to bust it down, I'm going to find an open door. See, because you can. Number 3, do something to change your feelings. Do something to change your feelings about being inadequate. Replace your negative beliefs with the positive one. So instead of seeing yourself failing if you start a business, see yourself succeeding. Instead of seeing yourself as a horrible mother, do what it is to be a good mother. Don't discipline all the time. Don't be, the person that they remember as always being the drill sergeant. Be the person that at least, if you're going to discipline, and I love watching somebody holding this camera right here. I love watching her with the little child she has. It is the most entertaining thing to me to watch her son, who is just like my son, and is always into something, getting into something, doing something in the mischievous mode. Pretty much most of the time. But if you're always disciplining and always trying to snap them into shape, you're going to miss building them. And at least build them as much as you discipline. At least build them as much as you criticize. Amen?
Amen.
So do something to change your feelings. Replace the negative belief with your positive outcome. A lot of things you believe about yourself and your abilities or lack of abilities are probably not even true. Amen?
Amen.
But your beliefs are causing you to act in a way that you make them true. Number 4, understand you are not your failure. No matter what it is. Failing doesn't make you a failure. One of the things that is a quote that's pretty powerful, and y'all might want to write this down because it is powerful. Successful people view failure as a lesson they learn from and they are empowered by. Unsuccessful people become consumed by their failure. They allow it to disempower them. They allow it to lock them down and out of their destiny because they let it control them. Number 5. Last one. You were not born feeling inadequate. At some point in your life, you've learned it so you can unlearn it. You can unlearn it. To remaster your thinking, you must remaster the way you talk to yourself. So when all of that stuff happens, you're having the conversation about it, remind yourself that you can do it. Not talk yourself out of not doing it. Tell yourself you're capable. Tell yourself you can do it. Jeremiah 29:11, and I'm closing with this. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord speaking. See, it says, declares the Lord. Y'all know it, don't you? What is his plans? To make you fail? No. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Amen.